بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We continue our study of Hadith 12. As you remember, this Hadith had a section about Tafakkur, a section about Salatul Layl, and a section about Taqwa. We are still continuing the discussion about Tafakkur, contemplation, thinking. The first thing for today is that we can think and contemplate about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's essence, names, and attributes. Imam Khomeini says some people think that we should not think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all. And they try to argue from those hadiths that discourage or even prohibit thinking about Zatillah, about essence of God. And they think any thinking about God is thinking about essence of God. And he says the reality is that we are not seeing even mystics or philosophers encouraging to think about the essence of God as such. Yes, when we talk about God, for example, we say God is one, or we say God has knowledge in his essence, God has power in his essence. This is a way of talking about essence of God that we must do. But what is prohibited is to try to understand deep in the essence of God. That is something that we cannot cope with. It's too much for us to want to analyze what makes essence of God. So he says that both hukama, means philosophers, and urafa, they have said that we cannot go to kun of that of Allah, to the very core and center of his essence to understand what his essence is. They also have said that everyone should not be encouraged to get into discussion about essence of God. Even those discussions which are not prohibited, which are permissible, it's not that everyone can do that. You find Abu Sina in Kitab al-Isharat wa Tanbihat, in the last part of it, and also Mullah Sabra in the beginning of his book Al-Aswar, they talk about the fact that there should be a kind of selection and consideration of whom to teach such profound elements of irfan and philosophy. In any case, Imam Khomeini says, in order to clarify this issue, because unfortunately some people attack urafa and philosophers, so they say we should not think about Allah at all, we should not study the essence of Allah at all. He says, let's spend some time and reflect on these hadiths and try to understand the real meaning of these hadiths. So the first hadith here is what we find in Al-Kafi, Sheikh Kulaini from Abu Basir, through his own chain of narration, quotes from Abu Basir, and Abu Basir says, قال أبو جعفر عليه السلام, Imam Baqir عليه السلام said, تكلموا في خلق الله ولا تتكلموا في الله فإن الكلام في الله لا يزداد صاحبه إلا تحيرا. Speak about creation of God and don't speak about God, because speaking about God would not add to the speaker except confusion. So they said this hadith means that we should not talk about essence of God at all. But Imam Khomeini says this hadith is talking about some people who want to talk about the very core essence of God. But if you want to talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He exists, He has knowledge, He has power, this is also in a sense that you are talking about His essence. But you are not trying to analyze His essence. These are two different things. What is not good is to go to kun of Zat of God, to the very core and deep into the essence. If you want to somehow like dig into something, this is not possible. Even with many things we cannot actually do this. For example, even about human beings, we have lots of knowledge, but who can say that I have gone deep into essence of human being? What is the essence of human being? We don't know. We say haywan and natiq, for example, but this is just for the sake of making education easier. It's for ta'aleem. We don't know essence of anything in this world. How can then you expect to know essence of God in the sense that you exhaust? You can say, I know everything, I can analyze it, I can go into every aspect of it. No. So this hadith, which says, don't speak about God, speak about creation, because if you speak about God, it would add only confusion. It means it's talking about that kind of approach, which wants to understand the core of the essence. Or maybe it is about the people that even normal discussions about theology is too difficult for them. It's not that everyone can undertake theological, philosophical discussion about God. And he says, the late Allama Majlisi also has mentioned these two possibilities. The other hadith is تَكَلَّمُوا فِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَلَا تَتَكَلَّمُوا فِي ذَاتِ اللَّهِ. Speak about anything, but don't speak about essence of God. Again, Imam Khomeini says this means to try to analyze the essence of God. The next hadith is again Fil Kafi and Abi Ja'far alayhi salam, from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. He said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالتَّفَكُّرْ فِي اللَّهِ. Avoid thinking about God. ولكن إذا أردتم أن تنظروا إلى عظمته فانظروا إلى عظيم خلقه. But if you want to look at His greatness, look at the greatness of His creation. Again, he says this also refers to at-tafakkur fi kunh zatillah, and tafakkur about Zat of Allah in the sense that theology and philosophy teach us has no problem. And he says what makes our interpretation very clear and supports it is this hadith in Kafi. that Kulayni narrates from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, this hadith, which not only doesn't prohibit tafakkur fillah, actually promotes and encourages us. أفضل العبادة إدمان التفكر في الله وفي قدرته. The best worship is to keep thinking about God and His power. So if it was prohibited to think about God, why he says the best ibadah? Then he refers to another hadith in Kafi, Su'ila Ali ibn al-Husayn alayhim as-salam, and Tawheed. Imam Zainul Abidin was asked about Tawheed, this famous hadith that you might have heard. فقال إن الله عز وجل علم أنه يكون في آخر الزمان أقوام متعمقون فأنزل الله تعالى قل هو الله أحد والآيات من سورة الحديد إلى قوله وهو عليم بذات الصدور فمن رام وراء ذلك فقد هلك. When Imam Zainul Abidin was asked about Tawheed, he said, truly Allah the Almighty knew that in the end of time there would be people who are very deep in their understanding. Muta'ammiq. They go deep into everything. So Allah revealed قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, Surah Tawheed. Also ayat from the beginning of Surah Al-Hadid up to وَهُوَ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ, because he knew that such people would come in Akhir al-Zaman. In order to educate them, in order to fulfill their thirst for deep understanding, these verses are revealed. But whoever goes beyond and wants something more, then would be destroyed. Means you should not try to understand more than this. This is the limit. So why then you say it's bad to think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and about His essence? He says, which Arif and which philosopher has ever offered something more profound than verses in the beginning of Surah Al-Hadid? The maximum they can understand is سَبَّحَ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, which is in the beginning of Surah Al-Hadid. Or for example, when the Quran says in Surah Hadith number 3, هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. He is the first and the last. He is al-Zahir wal-Batin. He is the apparent and He is the invisible. He is in the outer and inner dimensions of the world. You cannot limit Him to beginning nor to the end, or to the surface or to the depth. وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. And He's aware of everything. Imam Khomeini says, this is very a strong statement. He says, بجان دوست قسم که اگر برای حقیقت کتاب کریم الهی جز این آیه شریف نبود برای اهل دل کفایت میکرد. He says, by the life of my friend, my beloved, means Wallah, if there was no verse or no sign for reality of this book to show the truth of Quran, other than this ayah only, was enough. For the people who are Ahl Dil, the people of heart, the people of mystical understanding, just this ayah was enough to say that this is from Allah. هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. He is the first and the last. He's everywhere without being limited by anything, by any place, any time, any personality, any individual, any mahiyya. Just everywhere without being anywhere. Then he says, if you look at Quran and sermons of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, you find they have things that no philosopher or Arif has said more. And they explain to us many things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, if Hadith says, Man nadhara fillahi kayfa huwa halaka, whoever thinks and looks at Allah and how He is and what's His type and what is His quality, he would be destroyed. It means either the people who have no capacity, no background, no training, or the people who want to go deep into the core of its essence and to analyze it. He says, in any case, this book is not for such issues, but because some people accuse philosophers and mystics and unfortunately attack them, he says, I have to address this, and even if one person accepts, it's sufficient for me. Then he says, chapter about thinking that masnu', about creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead of thinking about Allah, thinking about His creatures. Sometimes we think about creation, like Burhan and Nazm, argument from design. We think about the world, and then from that we come to the point that we can argue for the existence of Allah and some of His quality. For example, we say this design, this order, this purposefulness cannot be created by chance or by someone who has no knowledge or no power. So this tafakkur about creation and creatures is another dimension of tafakkur. So when we say we should think and contemplate, it includes also thinking about the creation. In Burhan al-Siddiqeen, the argument of the truthful one, the focus is existence of God. From existence of God, they try to prove existence of God, or from concept of absolute existence, they want to prove God. But in most of arguments, it's not directly from God that we start. We start from His, for example, creation or other concepts to prove existence of wajibul wujud. He says there are many, many things in the world that need contemplation so that you can easily understand the existence of God. For example, he says one thing that we can reflect on is the relation between earth and sun. How earth has certain distance from sun, not too close, not too far. How they move and create days and season and year, and the angle of and condition of motion of moon and sun and earth, how gives us the best opportunities for having diversity of temperature, but not too cold, not too hot. This is something that needs explanation, and if someone understands it well, would understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator. Or for example, about our own self. Of course, thinking about our soul and the absolute, not absolute, but lots of beauty and potential that Allah has put there is absolutely difficult. But at least you can think about human body. That now for thousands of years, biologists, doctors, physicians, they are working, and still they are not able to know everything about human body. Actually, we cannot know everything about anything. You cannot find even one thing in the world that we can say we know everything about its essence. And human body is not the most complicated thing in the physical world. Human soul, yes, but not human body. So we cannot still know human body. What about, mountains and all these, rivers and jungles and plants and animals and insects? So if you think about this, then you would approve that there is a need for Creator. And he says it is very sad that if we just look at our tasbih and rosary, we say this cannot be result of chance or blind accident. If we have, for example, a watch, we say whoever says this watch is created by chance or accident, we say has lost his mind. But when it comes to this world, which is much more magnificent and complicated, unfortunately some people say this can be a result of accident. Why? When it's natural order, you underestimate it. And then the next chapter is about contemplation, about conditions of our soul. And he starts with discussion about proving immateriality of the soul. He has very good discussion here, so I think we'll leave it inshallah for next session. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.